welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a YouTube channel all about homeschooling. And today I'm going to talk about how I socialize my kids and what we do every week. Last week, I did a video all about socialization and why it is not an issue, why it's not a concern. If you want to find that video, I'll put a link for it up here. But that led to a lot of questions about what do I actually do? Where do we go? What do we do? How do we find these places? And how do you mentally get yourself wrapped around it? And so I'm going to tell you all about what happens in our week and some tips I have about socializing your homeschool kids. So first I thought I would walk you through our week. What do I do every single week? Well, let me run you down on what our week looks like. Mondays, we typically do co-op. So we have a group of local families that get together and do activities with their kids. It's kind of nice for us. It's kind of a newer co-op for us. And we really, really like it because it's local kids. So we live in a fairly large geographic area. And oftentimes we have to go to the city to to do stuff. And this is a group of kids who all kind of live in our area outside of the city. And so we get to interact with them. And so it's kind of nice to have local friends that we don't have to drive 30 or 40 minutes to go visit. So that's what this group is. And it's been really, really nice. My kids have made some really, really good friends at that group. And so typically we do that on Mondays. We do that 2 to 3 Mondays a month. One Monday a month, we do our Science Center's homeschool program, which is a full day program. We'd spent the whole day there, in the city with all the other homeschoolers who have signed up for that. And we have several friends who do it as well. So we're all doing the homeschool program. Basically, on Mondays, if it's not a Science Center day, chances are we're going to be at our co-op. That's just how things run. Tuesday, I call it my class day. They have gymnastics, homeschool gymnastics in the morning. Then in the afternoon, after quiet time, my mother-in-law comes and gives them a French lesson. So they do an hour to an hour and a half of French with her. And then after dinner, they go to Girl Guides. So we do a lot of classes on Tuesdays, lots of socialization, lots of learning that's happening on Tuesdays, different things. So Tuesdays is a busy day for us. It works for us though. It's just a day where I don't have to plan anything. It's kind of nice in that sense. As a homeschool mom, it's they're all entertained, but I don't have to do any planning. It's great. Wednesdays, often my kids will visit my mom on Wednesday mornings after they're done their schoolwork. They'll go visit my mom for a couple of hours. And then after dinner, we go to choir. So my husband and I volunteer as choir directors at our church. And we run a children's choir, which is 30 kids ages 5 to 10. And so we go and do that. And the kids have a playtime beforehand. They do choir and then they have a little playtime afterwards. And so there's a whole thing that happens, but it's a great activity. My kids absolutely love it. Thursdays are our home day. Thursdays is mom's we're not leaving the house day. And I try to keep it very, very much that way for us. It's a day where we do our baking and our poetry tea time. So stuff is happening, but it's very much a day where everyone can kind of chill. Fridays are a little bit of an up in the air day. It depends on what's going on. Sometimes we do this, there's a citywide co-op that we're a part of. Sometimes we do something with them if it's something my kids want to do. Sometimes it's just not age appropriate because they do some stuff for older kids and stuff for really younger kids. So if my kids aren't interested or it's just going to be too much for Zoe or something, we'll skip it. But we have that as an option. If there's nothing going on or it's just not for us, sometimes we'll do a play date with some other friends, or we'll do it as an errand day where we'll run errands, go shopping, get groceries, do whatever. And sometimes we'll just have it be another home day and do a family night. So that's kind of what happens on Fridays. Lately we've been going skating on Friday nights because there's free skates at the arena not far from us. So that has been kind of a nice, fun option for us as well. And then Saturdays is typically another home day for us. Depends. But we tend to stick close to home on Saturdays. We do a bigger clean on Saturdays, or I film videos on Saturdays. We do stuff on Saturdays just around the house. Sundays, we go to church, get groceries, and then we often have dinner with either my parents or my in-laws. So that's kind of how our week goes. It is a very full week. Sometimes I feel like we've bitten off too much, especially like sometimes we have a week where it is like everything has collided. We have definitely had at least 2 weeks this year, where I call them like super weeks and everything has collided. Like everything that is possibly able to happen has collided. It's been a full day science center day. They had a full class day. We had choir on Wednesdays. Thursdays, which is supposed to be our home day, like we had an appointment or something that I just couldn't book for another day. It was just the only day that was available. Friday was like a huge field trip day with the co-op to like the pumpkin patch or something, like something really like it was, we had like, we wanted to go, but it was like a big thing. And then like the Saturday would be a birthday party. Sunday would be like a choir performance. Like there's been weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. It doesn't happen every week. But there have been some days where I was like, whew, we've been going steady for like something every single day for like 12 days and I'm exhausted. It doesn't happen often, but, and let me tell you, Alexi doesn't care. Zoe does get a little, she's like, can we stay home today? Zoe's a little bit more like me. Alexi's like, where are we going today, Mom? So, you know, introverts, extroverts, do what you can, right? But there are some things that I do that I think help doing this socialization and having these weeks work better. And so I am a bit more of an introvert. I don't know if people realize that because I do talk on videos. I do YouTube videos and stuff like that, but I do tend to be a little bit more introverted. And so sometimes I find this a little overwhelming. And also like some parents have asked me like, how do you find these places? How do you handle all of this? How do you finance all of this? And so I'm going to give you a couple tips. Number one, some of the activities we do are come and go as you please. So there's not a financial commitment to doing them. It's just pay, like you just show up and either do the activity or you just pay if you show up kind of thing. So our co-op on Mondays and our co-op on Fridays, typically it is the Monday one, it's just $5 for the room rental at the church that we rent per family. It's $5. So if we show up, I just pay $5 and we're all good. Just to cover our rentals. On Fridays, depending on what the activity is, will depend on the cost of it. Sometimes there's no cost. Like if it's just like a park meetup, or like a beach day, there's no cost. Sometimes there might be like a $5 cost, or if we're going, for example, if we're doing like a field trip to the pumpkin patch, there would be like our entrance fee. But those activities are dependent on if we want to show up or not. So that kind of does help that if there's something going on or I'm just feeling really overwhelmed or I'm realizing like we're just exhausted, we just don't have to go. There's no financial, like I don't find the financial commitment is not as strong as, for example, like when we have gymnastics classes where like I've paid for 10 weeks and you feel guilty about missing them because you're not going to get them back. So I feel like unless we're sick, we're going to go do our gymnastics classes kind of thing, right? So that's nice to have some activities that are a little bit more open-ended and a little bit more flexible in that sense so that we can just go and do them when we feel like it, not necessarily have to do it every single week. Another thing that is kind of nice is I do try to do most of our activities or things in the afternoon. Outside of homeschool gymnastics, which starts at 11. So it's not super early in the morning, and our science center days, which is a full day. Other than those, all of our other activities happen in the afternoon. That's really nice because it does give us the morning to A, do schoolwork, and B, kind of do some stuff around the house. So I do find that helpful, is to limit the number of mornings we go out. I know parents with younger kids do tend to like mornings, but once you have kids who don't nap anymore, afternoon activities are the bomb. So that does help. I will say that does help, having activities in the afternoon, school, and kind of not have to go anywhere in the morning is really nice. I will say homeschool specific activities are something that I would definitely look into because they do tend to be a little bit more flexible, like I was already saying, but also I find that it tends to become like a mom time. It's a really nice place to get to know some of the other parents. And like when our kids are doing gymnastics, they're off, they're gone. All of us moms just, or dads, sit in a circle at like the waiting area and the kids are off with their coaches. Like we're not involved. And so we can just sit there and we can chat and we just talk about everything from like vacations to like like where we'd like to go on vacation, to books we've read, to like curriculum we're using, to like struggles we're having, to like raising chickens and growing garden, like whatever we want to chat about. That's just what we're doing. Like we just hang out, and it kind of becomes like a moment to fill our cups too, because we get to talk with parents who are adults, because sometimes you feel like you're just dealing with your kids all day. So we get to interact with adults, which makes us parents very happy, but also we get to interact with adults who understand what we're doing. They understand why we're homeschooled. They understand what's going on and why we're in the trenches. And you kind of have that camaraderie. In that sense, you can have a mom chat time and make homeschool friends as a mom, but also like make friends with like people around you that, and like discuss things. Like I've been like, hey, like I've heard of this curriculum. You use it. Do you like it? What's it like? Is it religious? Is it this? Is it that? And like gotten their opinions on this. And so I've like learned a lot about like different curriculum options, different programs people have used, not from like the internet, but from like just sitting around and talking with other homeschool parents at a co-op or at a gymnastics lesson or like stuff like that. So it's a really kind of a nice time to learn, but also like just to fill your own cup and just chat with people, which as homeschoolers and as stay-at-home parents, a lot of us just don't have that time. So it becomes that kind of moment for us too. Another thing that I think is important to remember is a lot of these activity days, when I have like a lot of activities, the activities take the place of school. So when we do a full day at the Science Center, we don't do school books. I know some parents are like, oh, well, we what if you missed a day of literacy? I was like, well, who cares? My kids just spent 4 or 5 hours doing like science activities, hands-on science activities, reading science posters, running around doing science experiments, taking in lecture, like a whole class with a scientist. They've done stuff all day. They've learned all day. Learning doesn't have to be just sit down workbook time. Learning can be going and playing at the Science Center and exploring the world around you. Learning can be, sitting there polishing rocks at the lapidary lab. Learning can be going and like watching an IMAX movie on like the white spirit bears in British Columbia. That's all learning activities. So you can like take things off your plate by not doing schoolwork on those days. You don't have to go and do that for 4 or 5 hours and then come back and do another hour or two of school. That can be the learning for the day, and that's okay. In terms of where do we find some of these activities, I will say it's a little bit hit and miss. When it comes to like classes, you do need to like look at the individual places. So for example, not every gymnastics center in our area runs homeschool classes. I think there's only 2 that do, but it's definitely something to look into. It's definitely something to kind of call around. If your kids are interested in activity, ask their friends, or locally ask, your Facebook group what kind of activities are available. That's always kind of your best bet, because they're all individually run and they all have their own scheduling and their own times and all of that. But definitely look for activities that are free and local as well. So like I said, our co-op that we do on Mondays, that's just, we get together and hang out. We usually, like I said, it's $5 a family to rent the room, which is just so we can meet and have a bigger space. It's not a big deal. Some of our others, sometimes we meet at a park or whatever, and then it's a free day. And then also sometimes we just take advantage of like free activities that are happening locally. So like a free skate night or a free movie night or free classes from the libraries. We'll just sign up and go and do those kinds of things. So I wish there was like a database where you could be like, yeah, what kind of homeschool classes are in your area? There's not. Unfortunately, it is a lot of like phone calling and like looking online. But I will say there are more and more and more homeschool classes that are available. This is what we do, but I know locally there is jiu-jitsu, karate, basketball, rock climbing, art classes, a couple different gymnastics class, a ninja course class. But yeah, it's very much like a call around and see. And then also if you have friends who want to all do something, you can definitely rent a space or like ask them to start a new class. How do you think we got homeschool gymnastics? A bunch of us said, hey, you guys run toddlers gymnastics during the day. Would you, or like mom and tots, would you ever consider running a homeschool class? They were like, yeah, we would love to. And now they run homeschool classes right after toddlers class. It's great. So sometimes you just have to ask, because if you have enough people who are interested, they might run it. It's simple as that. That's how we socialize our kids. That's what our week looks like. That's some tips about socialization. hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notifications when I put out new videos. If you want to see where we're going this week and what we're doing, make sure that you subscribe and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.